JPMorgan has decided to buy First Republic Bank, and that is a huge caution sign for all the other regional banks out there. And we want to cover all of this in this episode. So make sure you stick around because there's a lot that's going on, and it's not only just impacting banks, but it's actually impacting commercial real estate, which could impact employment down the line, which then could lead to layoffs. So we want to talk about all this plus more. So, bro, let's not waste any time. Let's just dive in, bro.
That's a fact, because this is actually very important, bro. So just to give you guys a rundown, First Republic Bank was seized by JPMorgan, as we said. So regulators had to seize First Republic Bank specifically early on Monday, and it was the second largest bank failure in U.S. history, which is insane, y'all. So all their deposits and most of their assets were given to JPMorgan and Chase in a bid to end all this turmoil, right? So just so you guys know, this is the third mid-sized bank to fail in less than 2 months. Things have definitely gotten shaky. Remember, it started off the Silicon Valley Bank. We covered that. We have a whole episode on that, so make sure y'all check that out. And the only larger bank failure that has happened so far in U.S. history was Washington Mutual, which you guys might remember from the 2008 financial crisis. And guess who bailed them out? Who bailed them out, though?
JPMorgan.
JPMorgan and Chase, right? So they came to the rescue back then. They're coming back to the rescue again. As Jamie Dimon, the CEO, says, the government invited us and others to step up, and we did. All right, so First Republic, guys, they have 84 branches that now opened up on Monday as branches of JPMorgan Chase. So they have been transferred over officially. It is now under them. So the bank has acquired $92 billion in deposits and $203 billion in loans and other securities. So it's unfortunate, though, for shareholders of First Republic Bank, though, because they're getting wiped out, unfortunately, right? So if you were like a shareholder, I feel bad for you. My condolences, because your money just went bye-bye. All right, so understand, guys, First Republic was reputable. This is not no small bank, right? It was the envy of the banking industry for a while. They catered to the rich, just like Silicon Valley and Signature Bank did. But see, catering to the rich with these banks wasn't really the best thing for this crisis, because as people started to get worried about banks, those high net worth individuals or businesses that have over $250,000 worth of money inside of these banks, they felt unsure of their money being in there because they didn't feel like it would be secured by the FDIC. So then they start scurrying. They're moving their money out of these regional banks like First Republic, and that didn't bear too well for them. Because if you have less than 250K, your money's good, right? You don't got to worry about that. So that's what made this pretty worrisome for them. So just to close out, because that's really the main juice of the story. Just know that on Monday, First Republic, the reason why they went down is because on Monday last Monday they had earnings, and that's what made this whole hysteria start. Everybody looked at their earnings and like, yo, $100 billion in deposits flowed out of the bank, bro. That means that they're going under. And then ever since then, y'all, this happened to the stock. So, Newski, is this a good thing, bro?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I think right before that happening was, I think a lot of people came out and were saying First Republic is actually a good buy, right? And a lot of people were trying to say that, it's obviously, as Rel just mentioned, it's envied, it has a lot of support from the rich, it will be okay. And there's articles that we have, because at the end of the day, this is exactly why you don't want to take everything people say on Reddit, everything people say on CNBC, everything people say online just for what they're actually saying. You actually want to do your own research. So when you look at it, the article says it all right here. It says First Republic Bank is easy money. Shout out to Kobe. Easy money, right? Like, it's up 3% today on a red day for NASDAQ. That doesn't matter, bro. Like, if you guys have been following the stock market for a while, and I'm throwing this back way before, is think about it. When Facebook had its fall off, and I think this was like 2020, when they had their fall off, it was one of the largest fall offs back then in a single day for the stock market. People bought Facebook the next day. It fell again. then it fell again, and then it fell again. You know what I mean? But that's such a reputable company that was able to fight back because it had innovation. In First Republic's thing, even though it fell and it went up, you have to look at the fundamentals and you have to look at where the sector is going. And since SVB was not doing too hot, this kind of just, it was right, the writing was on the wall, which points to the next article. You have CNBC. This man literally is coming online where everyone is watching the show and saying, I'm buying First Republic. It's a good bank. Bro, you guys are saying this with such certainty, and then people are buying that, and then they end up losing their money. So at the end of the day, you can't just believe people. And this is not recent. Like, this is way before. Like, people were overhyping it to the point where it's like, oh, it's undervalued. I mean, yes, people could say right now, bro, like, yo, you guys are saying this now. It's May. But at the end of the day, we're saying this, and we still always say this, do your own research. Just don't listen to people online all the time. And the article is very, very timely with the charts. Like, so if you look at the charts now, bro, it's right there in front of you. People were saying this is a good buy, but then look at the chart. It's right there.
Bro, look at this. He said this on March 14th. March 14th. March 14th, bro, like, was all the way over here, bro.
And that's the thing. People are trying to buy it, bro. Like, my whole thinking is people are buying stuff just because it's going down. Like, if something was 100 and it's coming down to 40, people are like, yo, it's 60% off. Bro, it might not ever go up to 100.
You know why? People try to catch a falling knife because of a situation like this, right?
Like Meta, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So look at Meta, guys. When Meta bottomed out at around $87, Meta has come all the way up to what, about $245. Mm-hmm. Do the math on it. That's a crazy return. So people down here were saying Meta's dead, and then people who bought down here, yes, they're very happy. Yeah. But as you see in First Republic's case, that's not always the case. It has to actually be quality. You have to actually do your due diligence. And honestly, more times than not, it doesn't come back.
And so, I'm not, as I said, innovation is the big key. In Meta's case, there's innovation, and they're in the tech sector where innovation is valued very high. So that's all I had to say for that piece.
And they have a moat, you know what I'm saying? They're
right.
Most social media users and stuff. But last thing I'll say on this article that I did want to mention, guys, is JPMorgan is so big that by law, it would not be allowed to buy First Republic because no one bank can have more than a 10% market share of deposits in the US. So by law, they're actually not even supposed to be allowed to buy First Republic because they're not supposed to have a 10% market share of deposits in the US. But because First Republic failed, JPMorgan was able to pretty much break the law and actually consume all those deposits. So it's sad that they're even letting JPMorgan be this dominant. So I just want to make that point that, like, honestly, it's a pretty unfair situation. Come on, it's a whole monopoly going.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Monopolies, I don't know how well this is going to impact the actual market, but it's going to be fun to see. But I was about to say, let's talk about this whole commercial real estate impact.
Yep, exactly. So, guys, we just mentioned that the regional banks, they're underwater, right? They're not doing too well. They're in hot fire. Roughly 80% of commercial real estate lending is done by these smaller banks, though. And so commercial real estate is already in a crisis. Why? Because as you see in this article, for example, New York City offices, their vacancies have hit a record high, meaning nobody's in these offices, meaning commercial real estate is losing value. And commercial real estate often has these variable interest rate loans where they have to actually renew their leases too. So it's like, if you don't, with the high interest rates that we have now, so these loans that they're in, they have a high interest rate, and the people don't want to renew their leases at the same rate because it's like, I'm gonna pay a higher interest rate and I have less people coming to the office, so my vacancies are low. Yo, that's a catastrophe in itself. So these commercial properties, I don't even know what's going to happen to them, who's going to have to seize them, because they're not going to be able to operate under this function. And on top of that, they're funded by these regional banks. Mm-hmm. So it's like kind of both industries are like doing bad, and like, yo, it has dramatic effects. Like Newski, like I know you mentioned jobs, like you could like elaborate on that. Like what are the effects of commercial real estate going down?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is how I think about it. When commercial real estate is being bought, someone has to pay rent on that property, right? So if vacancy, like if you paid a large amount to actually own that land and you're paying rent and you're doing all your payments, but people aren't actually coming in, it's like, does it actually make sense for me to continue paying this rent, right? Does it make sense? Does it make sense for my margin? Does it make sense for my profits? Does it make sense for the bottom line? And if it doesn't, people are gonna be like, okay, well, I can't get out of this lease now because, I mean, at the end of the day, I already signed it. You can't just break the lease unless you can, right? And then you're gonna have to go down that whole process. So how do I maintain my margins? What do I do? What's the bottom line that I can meet? Well, now the easiest thing that people go to is layoffs because I could cut low-hanging fruit and just get out. And then you start doing layoffs. You start firing people. You start, I guess it sounds bad, but you start saving money. And when you start saving money, that kind of leads to the whole unemployment rate going higher, which is what Jerome Powell actually wants. So there's a lot going on with this, and it's not just something that you could hide. And I think a lot of people are not talking about as much. So we just wanted to bring some light to it.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And we looked at the Fed watch, so we talked about this last episode, but they're already expecting some rate cuts in around the September area, which kind of tells me that the market truly does expect a recession in the summertime. So although people are not trying to talk about it right now, understand that the market's really pricing in us most likely having a recession in the summer. So just stay tuned on that.
That's a fact. But that basically wraps up this episode for you guys. We really want to just make sure we highlight what's happening with First Republic, what's happening with JP stepping in, and how this could really impact commercial real estate. So if you're still watching, we appreciate you. Thank you. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Plus hit that little notification bell because we drop
2 videos a week.
And you don't want to miss them. If you did not check out our episode on Monday where we talked about Jerome Powell, the Fed, the interest rate, and how it could impact the inflation market and everything that's going on, make sure you check that out. But we will catch you next Monday. Until then, peace.
Peace.
Soundstripe.